everyone, and welcome back once again. Thank you so much for stopping by. I truly appreciate you all. So, more reactions. People are still reacting concerning MAZI Nnamdi Kanu's matter, especially what happened yesterday in the court, how the court admitted or accepted the death certificate of Ahmed Gulak. So people are saying, like, what is the connection? Like, what has MAZI Nnamdi Kanu, got to do with the death of Ahmed Gulak? Like, it doesn't make sense. People are saying that your prosecutor can bring any evidence in the court. So it left for MAZI Nnamdi Kanu to bring their evidence to counter the evidence, right? And then the court will look into it. That is not all the evidence you bring in the court that's going to, add to the case, right? And as well as, what IPOP said yesterday, that Nigeria government are kind of desperate in order to make sure that they win this case. This is the reason why they are just, looking for any evidence, they can use against MAZI Nnamdi Kanu. That, connecting MAZI Nnamdi Kanu with the death of Ahmed Gulak does not even make any sense. So without wasting your time, let me allow you guys to listen to this powerful analysis from VOP and hear what they have to say concerning this matter. Take a look.
The Department of State Services, DSS, have denied claims that it has kept MAZI Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, in solitary confinement while in its custody since 2021. During a court session on Wednesday, a DSS operative, PWBBB, testified that solitary confinement is not a practice of the DSS. This came after Kanu's legal team, led by Chief Kanu Agabi, raised concerns about his prolonged detention and conditions. Agabi further questioned the legality of Kanu's detention, calling it cruel and inhuman treatment, and also raised issues regarding the charges against Kanu and the credibility of evidence presented by the prosecution, including video footage of Kanu's interrogation. The court admitted medical and police reports related to the death of former presidential aide Ahmed Gulak, allegedly linked to Kanu's orders during a broadcast. The case was adjourned to May 21, 2025, after further delays over documents requested by the defense. Joining us in the studio today to help make sense of today's topic is Mr. Dele Fanibo, a seasoned journalist and a social and political critic.
A reporter.
Oh, a reporter still, a journalist. Then from our Abuja studios, we have Barrister Sam Kago, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, standing by. I have Barrister Arachiko Bunna. He's a political analyst, human rights lawyer, and head of Department of Human Rights and Political Education of Social Development Center. Good morning, gentlemen.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Good to have you join today's conversation. Yes. Good morning, Barrister Arachiko Bunna. If you can hear me, we would like you to unmute your device for us to establish communication with you this morning. All right, Mr. Dele Fanibo, good to have you once again. And we're looking at the trials of Nnamdi Kanu. I guess it was yesterday where we learned that, the certificate of, the death certificate of Gulak was also admitted in the court by a motor show. And not just that, what can you just help us at this point in time, make it very easy and known to the public listening to us what solitary confinement is all about? Because now DSS is saying we do not keep Nnamdi Kanu in solitary confinement. We don't practice search, but we have his legal team also raising that as a concern and also a motion in the court.
Well, I've never been kept in one before, but I have an idea of what solitary confinement is.
Okay.
You see, those who are held in detention and are considered to be dangerous to other inmates are usually kept in a room solely for that suspect, so that there won't be any interaction with other suspects that are kept in common room, so that they won't, we have had cases in the past that have been reported that some hardened criminals will kill their fellow suspects in custody. And so once they notice that you are likely to be too dangerous to be kept among other suspects, so they take you out and keep you in a cell where you are going to be alone. And they also make sure that all precautions are kept to ensure that you don't even harm yourself. In some cases, they don't even allow objects around you.
Okay,
which
now
you can use to
your
confirm.
analysis makes it seem like it's for the benefit of the man himself. But we also know that being in solitary confinement sometimes could be staying within a very, small space, dark, which can mess up the psychology of the individual. That's also part of being in solitary confinement.
You see, one other thing that you also have to know is that keeping somebody in a cell alone is psychological trauma. Because as we are seated here now, we can sit here, talk, discuss for the next 10 hours. We will not get exhausted. The only thing that we will remember is we have not eaten. But the moment somebody steps into this place and says, you are under arrest, your adrenaline will shut up. I will shoot up, and you begin to imagine, if I could break this wall, I could escape through this
Imagination
place.
starts
Imagination starts running riot. Okay. That is the conventional cell. Now imagine when you are kept in a solitary confinement, where you don't have anybody to converse with, where you don't have anybody to even look at, where you don't have anybody you can even feel. You are all by yourself, alone, and not just for one day, for a long period.
Now, DSS is denying this, but we also have learned from KANU'S counsel that multiple times they've gone to visit him in the cell or where he was being kept in detention, and they are not being allowed access to him. Now, what justification do you have to come up to say, no, we don't practice such in Nigeria and all that, given the fact that they've restricted people from seeing him?
It's the DSS words against the suspect in this case. Now, it's no longer a suspect, it's now an accused person because the case is in court. Now, the fact that they didn't allow his counsel to see him in the cell, there's no way they would open the cell for the counsel to see him. They would rather bring him out from his cell and probably get an office that is conducive enough for him to have conversation with his lawyers. So we cannot sit here and say for sure that they kept him in solitary confinement or not. But Kanu has not even said that. It is still the counsel that is saying it. But the thing is, I know that it is a practice. If you go to even some of our prison facilities, which they call correctional center now, they also have such places where they keep people, where they know that they are likely to be a threat to other suspects in the common cell.
Now, I want to come on the path of the death certificate that was presented in court. Interestingly, the court has admitted Gulak's death certificate right now as an evidence against Nnamdi Kanu. My question now would be, what do you think this would mean to the integrity of the legal process of this particular case? And of course, do you think that it's going to set a very dangerous precedent for a court of that jurisdiction to admit a death certificate of someone who has died into a case that has been ongoing for the longest of time?
You see, I'm not a lawyer, and at the risk of violating court rules, which presupposes that whatever we say out of a court in an ongoing trial is sub judice.
Yeah.
But I want to say that we have had such cases in the past. Sarowiwa was not present when they killed some Ogoni leaders. But because Sarowiwa was alleged to have instigated that attack, it was one of the evidences used against him in court during his trial. So, as flimsy as it looks, it is the responsibility of the lawyers of Nnamdi Kanu to ensure that that evidence is shut down. It's not just, it's a potent evidence in court. I've seen precedents like that.
All right, now let's x-ray this. When this happened in 2021, it happened on May 30th, which is Biafra Heroes Day. And I'm sure you remember, the things that happened, because Gulak was said to be going to the airport after an official assignment, and then the driver took, the wrong turn, took a wrong route. Now, he was going without an escort. I mean, just to put this out there for the benefit of of the viewers, he took a wrong turn and then he was waylaid and killed. Now, IPOB at the time, Imam Powerful, on behalf of IPOB, denied any involvement in all of this. The security architecture blamed this on unknown gunmen. And we also know that a few killings also happened in 2021 involving these unknown gunmen. One of them would be the death of Chike Akoyili. I think that's his name. Dora Akoyili's husband, who was shot, point blank. Even though they said it was a mistaken identity for that one. But there were lots of, attacks like of such in the southeast at that time. Now, what is the implication of pointing this or putting this on the feet of Nnamdi Kanu? What is the implication of this for his trial?
You see, like a delicate one, I must confess to you. And the law does not recognize sentiments. Sentiments can be in the public domain, but in the courtroom, it's hard evidence that will be used to determine the outcome of a case. You see, most of these issues, it is the responsibility of the state to present evidence. And it's also the responsibility of the legal team of
the
accused to ensure that those evidence put up against their client does not avail conviction. And so it's still a legal battle, and there's little somebody like me that I'm not learned.
Oh, no. We are not looking at it from the legal perspective, and of course we will not want to.
There's no way we will not look at it from legal perspective.
Go against.
Because the issue here is that somebody's life is at stake.
Indeed.
And I've always had this emotional sentiment to Kanu, because I look at it beyond the trial. I look at it from the prism of the fact that he has been denied so many things. Access to his children, access to his wife.
Let's x-ray a few things now. Kanu made some statements from his base at the time. Would you say those statements were enough to incite violence? Because what it seems like now is the violence that has been perpetrated in the southeast is being blamed on Kanu. Do you think those statements of, some statements that he made, I can't really quote them now, were enough, considering the fact that some other Nigerians have made similar statements calling for uprising? And, would we say they also...
The funny thing about the law is that 200 people may commit a similar crime. If they are not caught, it doesn't mean that law does not exist.
But the part that some Boko Haram were de-radicalized after being caught is another conversation we're not having, Mr. Fanimo. Do you think that this isn't one selective judgment, as it were? Because this overall is practically what it's turned out to be, according to some quarters, because some separatist group as well have voiced their displeasure about the ongoing situation of the country. So if we can de-radicalize some Boko Haram members who were caught, what is the issue with the Nnamdi Kanu's situation?
We had the Niger Delta guys that held this country by the jugular, and eventually they were given reprieve through amnesty.
Right.
Some of them are pilots now. Some of them are accountants. Some of them are sea welders and all that. And we also have some other groups that have been. Look at OPC. There was a time OPC was also angling for the soul of the state, and Gani Adams and the rest were caught. You see, there's a portion in the Bible, in Matthew, I think Matthew 15, chapter 20, verse 26 or so. I say, if your traducer arrests you, settle with him before he takes you to court, because you may land in jail.
No, that's
You understand why I'm saying this is that, honestly, if you ask me, I would have thought that this case shouldn't even proceed to conclusion to the extent that if there is conviction, either way, if Kanu is convicted, it's not a win-win situation. If it's discharged and acquitted, it brings emotional sentiment that, okay, when you knew that this guy had no case to answer, why did you keep him all this while?
Interesting.
right.
You understand? So it's not a win-win situation. And so for me, beyond this court trial that is almost turning into a drama, endless one-season film, isn't it better for us to find political solution to this and let's get out of this and then move on? Because we can't continue to have things that would divide us more when we're supposed to be united as a nation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this case is one of these things that could divide us, because you can win a war, you may not win the battle. You can also win the battle, you may not win the war.
Interestingly, indeed.
That's my route, and it has always been my route.
And if you check it out, also some Nigerians are beginning to also say what you're saying now, given the fact that Kanu made a statement in broadcast, like some person said. But we have some Nigerians who are still in Nigeria who said they'll make governorship ungovernable for the then president of Nigeria, and they did that. We saw that come into fruition and all that. But yet, no one is being arrested. Now, let's bring in Barrister Arachukwu join the conversation. Good morning, Barrister Arachukwu. Barrister, I would like you to unmute your device if you can hear us.
Hello. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning. Good to have you join today's conversation.
Yeah, good morning, madam. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for joining us. Now, we are extrailing the trials of Nnamdi Kanu, and also the fact that the death certificate of Gulak was also admitted in the court as an evidence against him. Now, the question is this. Yesterday, during the trial, Agabi, who happens to be Kanu's counsel, also raised a concern in the court that he also requested a particular information from the Nigerian police, and, you know, for them also to be able to push on with their cross-examination and all that during the court's trial and the proceeding. But that particular motion was stepped down on the note that the case, according to what Awomolo, who also is a senior advocate, stated, was asked to be tried speedily. Now, are we going to see a situation whereby the speedy nature of this trial will now make the Nigerian courts not to look inwardly to, you know, admit evidences or the necessary documents that counsels are requesting for this case to be tried judiciously?
First and foremost, any court or tribunal that was its name will meticulously and religiously follow up the procedures of law, exhaust it in order to arrive at a reasonable conclusion. So even if there is to carry out speedy trials, it doesn't foreclose the court, or it doesn't prevent the court from ensuring that the procedures are exhausted. Because if you don't, you are creating a loophole for people to challenge the judgment on appeal. The judgment must be credible, and for it to be, all material evidences must be before the court.
All right, thank you.
But I wish to add, what is the relationship between Gulak's death and the trial of Nnamdi Kanu? I suppose Nnamdi has been tried for 3. Now Gulak was killed by whatever the state should know, was violently murdered sometime in the past.
That's exactly what they're trying to X-ray. That's exactly what we're trying to X-ray, because his death certificate has been presented in court as evidence of statements made by Nnamdi Kanu, insightful statements, as the court is is saying that the insightful statements that he made led to the death of Gulak, Ahmed Gulak at the time. And that's what we're trying to X-ray here. Nnamdi, so you tell us what you think, because we know that at the time that this happened, the police said this was done by bandits. Could there be another information that it wasn't bandits, it wasn't unknown gunmen, it was IPOB?
The biggest challenge we face in this country at all levels is that nobody is ready to be meticulous and religious in their service to the state. People do things haphazardly and come out in public space. Now come to think of it, somebody is killed. You are saying that somebody did Nnamdi Kanu make a statement telling bandits or telling anybody to directly go and hit Gulak? Are they saying that Nnamdi Kanu directed some people, orchestrated the death and murder or assassination of Gulak? People are killed all over the country as of today. All over the country, we are hearing killings from Bonu. Tell me any part of the country that individuals, cities are not being killed. Then one Nigerian is unfortunately to be murdered. You link it to some person who is thousands of kilometers away from the place. Okay, why was it only Gulak? Did he, if his statement led to the killing of people, they should bring the death certificate of all those who died within the period in the southeast, particularly those who were killed through violent processes, either by bandits or non-government or whoever, and then tender their death certificate. Can the DSS get serious for once?
All right, Barrister, I'd like to
I don't see the relationship between the two.
Now, Barrister, I'd like to stay with you on this. Interestingly, the court has admitted the death certificate, and as it stands, a lot of persons have asked and are still asking this question: what exactly does this portend? Does it portend a dangerous precedent to trials of such high-profile cases in Nigeria, and of course in Nigerian courts going forward?
No. The fact that a piece of evidence is admitted by the court as part of the case of any of the parties does not mean that piece of evidence goes to any significant issue. You can bring pieces of evidence to court and court will admit, but when the time comes for the evaluation of evidence, that is when the court will look at the pieces of evidence submitted before it or admitted before it to tell you that this set of evidence is of no value.
All right.
Okay.
If not, if by submitting evidences or pieces of evidences before a court, the case is won, then you know that two people who are facing criminal trial or any person facing trials, that the state will win and the individual will win, because the state will always submit pieces of evidence, individual facing trial will submit pieces of evidence. The fact that those evidences are submitted before the court doesn't mean that those parties will win.
All right, Barrister.
Of course, in the evaluation of evidence, the court will make it clear that one party, what you submitted is of no value.
All right, Barrister.
Of no probative importance, and therefore it's jettisoned.
Okay, let's get Barrister Sam Carbo join the conversation. Good morning, Barrister Sam Carbo. Good to have you join today's conversation. We'd like you to unmute your device if you can hear us for proper communication.
All right, while we try to connect to Barrister Sam Carbo, let's bring Dr. Kasim Akinreti into this conversation. I do believe that he has joined the conversation. Do we have Dr. Kasim Akinreti with us?
Yeah,
good to have you join the conversation. He's
thank you so much.
Deputy Director, Digital Media, Voice of Nigeria, Public Affairs, former Chairman, NUJ, Lagos State Council. Now, we're running out of time, really, but let's just have your broad overview of the trial so far and latest recent evidence presented in court in the case of Nnamdi Kanu and the Nigerian state.
Well, thanks so much. I've followed the developments closely, and then one thing about comments on matters that are sub judice is the fact that you rely so much on facts that are presented in court, and there are certain points that you may not likely going to actually inject your own emotions or innuendos into the comments, issues that have to go from the court. By training as a journalist, that is what we are taught under the media law. Well, the facts as it is, as what are presented in court, shows to the fact that these are occurred at a certain time, and these are were probably what had led into it, and it's obviously the choice. The opportunity for the councils to counter any of those allegations or facts that are presented to on behalf of his clients. But for me, as I've always been saying, that it's always better for a political solution to the issue of Nnamdi Kanu generally. I've advocated that as a journalist, and I keep saying it, that there's a way we can go around it, where the political leaders, the opinion leaders in the Southeast, must make a very effective move to resolve this matter, through their own political solutions and dialogue with the president. No, that is for me, that is the surest way of me bringing down the tension in the country, perhaps in the southeast of Nigeria. If we wanted to go, if we continue to go the route of the legalese, we might not get, we might not really get out of this, on time. But we use political solution. To me, the issue of Nnamdi Kanu, and we can surely get a way out of it. You recall when OPC, Pashieu and Gani Adams were in court, when during the Obasanjo era, the Yoruba leaders had to stand up and appeal to the president. Look, whatever this is a political situation. There is tension in the land. There is tension in Yoruba land. And what you need to do is to see how well you can just come and present what we call noli prosequi, by the AGF then. And that was actually pursued. At the end of the day, they were left off the hook. The challenge now is for leaders.
So with what you just cited now, would you say then that the leaders in the Southeast have failed Nnamdi Kanu in terms of appealing on his behalf?
No, as a journalist, I won't say they have failed, because I don't know other efforts, at the background. As journalists, there are certain facts that are available to you that obviously you are ready to go to present for two main reasons. For national security and of course for the what you call the public interests. What I'm saying is that there is still a little more time for the Southeast leaders to come together, from different political persuasions and reach out to the president on the Nnamdi Kanu issue. It's not about coming on television or on radio to discuss this matter or talking about this matter. They have to go through the back channel. I've just given you a clear example of what happened during the Obasanjo era, of the OPC leaders. And we have journalists too. When the issue of noli prosequi was presented in court, obviously, that was, yes, it was tried, because that's another very important political solution and even legal solution to the crisis at that time, and it was achieved. So let's call on them, let's rally them, and even remind them that there's a need for you guys to come through the back channels. Good enough. The deputy Senate, the deputy House of Rep, deputy what do you call it, of the Senate, the House of Rep, deputy House of Rep is from the Southeast, and we also have Uzo Kalu, also part of this the APC system. We also have Uzo Dima as the governor, as the leader of the Governors Forum. So rally all these guys around, rally them, and then let them bring this matter to the table of the president and say, look, Mr. President, kindly be magnanimous with this situation, because at the end of the day, we want Nigeria.
Mr. Kasim, I hope you're also aware that that I think over 50 House of Rep members also paid a visit to the president to discuss the issue surrounding this particular case that we have on our table today about Nnamdi Kanu and his freedom. And also some Southeasterners, some big or political bigwigs in Southeast have also been calling for, if possible, out of court negotiation about this particular man. And yet, it's more like he's getting no result.
No. You see, you can't exhaust political solutions enough. As each situation presents itself, you also need to make moves to see how you can sort this matter out. You know how long it took President Obasanjo to present a non-prosecution against the OPC leaders? No, let's not do a fact check and see how these processes are done, so that we can get it right.
Mr. Kazim, I'm still going to stay with you. Sorry to cut the line of short talk. I'm still going to stay with you. Are you saying that with this particular trial ongoing, is there the possibility that ethnic sentiments is being added to this, should be added? Yes. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not impugning ethnic sentiment. I'm just talking about the reality of political solutions to any case. What we've had on the ground before. Because I've listened to you to the comment so far from two gentlemen, and I seem to do that this issue of political solutions are not really being addressed, and that's why I had to bring it on board. By by the opportunity about my position as a journalist and someone who also have intelligent intel about what is going on in the country, and I'm guided by the principle of because in journalism, what we look out for is what are the immediate solutions to a particular challenge, and we'll present the facts. We also present the solutions to those facts, and I'm just giving you barely the solution to the matter at hand. Because the way people from the south, because as a journalist, we have colleagues over there. We know how the sentiments runs when it comes to the issue of Nnamdi Kanu in the southeast. I've been there. I've been to the southeast during my course of my work, and I know the sentiments going around there. There's no element of legal issues as it is now that will appease the people rather than the political solution. That's why I'm bringing that matter in now.
All right, then.
That is a matter of political expedience for the current administrator to see how that issue can be resolved.
All right, then.
And the political leaders that are there in the southeast should step up their game in ensuring that this issue is just arrested and for the better of our policy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akinreti. But we also do know that journalists, let's have your reaction to the fact that journalists have largely been accused of, fueling further insecurity in the country by the kind of reportage that they put out there. We've seen government, people in government accuse journalists of talking more about what these individuals are doing, these individuals that perpetrate insecurity, more than what the state is doing, or more than what the military forces are doing. And journalists have been accused of not putting out right stories. So let's have your quick reaction to that as we wrap this up.
I think what's important here is the issue of military civil relationship, building up confidence and building up trust, with journalists. I've been on a occasion where I had to discuss some intelligent teams.
Welcome to MAZI News TV.